Hey, it's me. And today I got asked for probably the millionth time in my life. Well, I didn't get asked, I got told for probably the millionth time in my life that I don't look like a lesbian when I told a gentleman, and I use the term loosely, who was attempting to get my attention that I am gay. And he said to me, "Well, you don't look like a lesbian." And I looked at him and I asked, "What does a lesbian look like?" And the thing is, I know what the answer to that question is, at least in society's mind. Um, Certainly not like this. And frankly, that's some of us. That's not all of us. And I mean, this is, absolutely no offense to my butcher, ow, my butcher compatriots out there, but seriously, what does a lesbian look like? This is what a lesbian looks like. This is what a lesbian looks like. Lesbians, shockingly, to a fair number of people, are people. We're just people. We're people who usually have vaginas. Not all of us have vaginas. Some of us have penises. But usually those of us with penises are not particularly fond of their penises. But, a lesbian is a person. A lesbian is a woman, a person who considers herself, at least in part, a woman, considers herself enough of a woman to, like, she identifies as a woman, for the sake of argument. Who identifies as a woman who likes to fuck other women and not men. Who usually also prefers only to have romantic relationships with other women. This is all true of me. I am a lesbian. I look like a lesbian. Because I am a lesbian. It would be very difficult for me, as a lesbian, not to look like myself. Were I suppose dressing up as Sean Connery, then I would look less like a lesbian and more like Sean Connery. But as long as I look like myself, I look like a lesbian. Just as much as any other lesbian. And I'm so sick of that question. Though, again, it's not really a question, it's a statement, and it's an ugly, reductive, stereotype-based statement that is based on, well, primarily fiction. I mean, like all stereotypes, there is some truth to it, but the truth is in the fact that the only ones you notice, the only dykes you notice are the ones that look butcher. The rest of us, we blend into the rest of the female population. That doesn't mean we don't exist. We're here. We're here. And, well, yeah. I am gay. And sick of people assuming I'm not gay. And I mean, okay, it's reasonable for people to generally assume that people are heterosexual. There are more heterosexuals than there are homosexuals. That makes sense. But when someone tells you they're gay, don't question it. Another question I'm really sick of, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Are you sure that you don't like dick? Because I'm sure I don't like dick. Unless it's my girlfriend's dick. I love her dick. But seriously, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Are you sure? Also, I know I've mentioned this before, but have you ever been with a guy? Have you ever been with a guy? Seriously, if you, as a man, ask that question of a lesbian as a way of trying to, like, magically change her sexual orientation, you're not allowed to ask that question unless you've been with a guy to make sure. But personally, I think that generally, we don't need to fuck them to be sure. Personally, I have been with men. However, if I say I have been with men, that merely garners, well, then aren't you bisexual? No. No, I'm not bisexual. Admittedly, my sexuality is more close to, I guess, feminine oriented, as I'm more attracted to feminine gender presentation than I care about parts. I'll take a cock, I'll take a pussy, as long as they're pretty. That's all I ask. Well, and if I'm going to be in a relationship with them as well as fucking them, it would help if they're smart and they don't annoy me. But that's not the point. The point of this is, I'm sick of people asking if it's a phase. Asking if it's a phase. Asking if I'm sure. Telling me I don't look like what I am. Because really, how can I not look like what I am? Yes, I look like a lesbian because I am a lesbian, and thus I must resemble myself, and I look like a lesbian. A lesbian. A single lesbian. One lesbian. Thus I resemble myself, who is a lesbian, and thus I resemble a lesbian. I look like a lesbian. Yes. It bothers me, in other words. Questions I don't mind include, how do you have sex? Because, well, frankly, if you're genuinely confused and not trying to get your rocks off, if you're trying to get your rocks off, I will come at you with whatever sharp object I can find. But if they're not trying to get their rocks off, if they're just curious, I will explain how lesbians have sex. To straight people, it's not obvious, for some reason. I guess there is a disturbingly high percentage of the population that doesn't realize that women can receive oral sex. That's very sad. Because oral sex is amazing. And I highly recommend it to everyone. Across the board. I mean, adults, obviously. But men, women, other, go for it. Yes, I highly recommend oral sex. I'm happy to explain how lesbians have sex. We have oral sex. That's what we do. Sometimes we use strap-ons. Sometimes we use sex toys. But mostly we have oral sex. That's what we do. Yes. And so that was my short rant on people assuming that I'm lying to them when I tell them I like other girls. I like other girls. Yes. So bye.